Mr. Fine, how many whistleblower reprisal investigations have there been, like maybe 2015, 2014, 2013? Do you know each year?
I don't know the exact numbers. We can certainly get you the statistics. There are hundreds of them.
Every year?
Yes. If you count the ones done by DOD, OIG, as well as the ones that we refer to the service.
Is there one service that sort of stands out? Most of them, no?
They all have them.
Equal.
They all have them.
And then I saw the time of resolving these cases, and that some of that's been discussed. They put in law that I guess it is in law the 120. Is that 120-day goal or by rule?
It's a law. After 180 days, you have to notify the complainant if it's going to be delayed beyond that, as well as the responsible management officials to provide notification.
Okay, so you have hundreds of cases. How many staff do you have hearing the cases?
So we have increased the staff. If you look at the last several years, we have around 50 staff who do whistleblower reprisal cases.
So 50 staff and a couple hundred cases a year? Is that what they're handling?
Not a couple hundred for us, but 50 staff to do the cases themselves, and then the oversight of the service IG cases when they come in, when they finish their investigation and send it to us. And then the service IGs have staff as well.
One of the things I read about is the reprisal investigations. There's for each of the services, there may be different procedures. There's varying procedures, and some have recommended standardization. Maybe you could tell us what is wrong with having these variations, and then do you make the case for standardization based on those?
There's a couple of reasons I would make the case for standardization. One, I think within the Department of Defense, you'll have to have a single process, and it shouldn't vary whether you are whether in the Navy, the Army,
now that would be,
or civilian.
could that be done administratively through the Secretary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the Secretary.
So the authority's there to do this, to do the standardization?
Yes, and the GAO recommended that we work with.
And you recommended, maybe, Mr. Chairman, we could also send a letter after this hearing saying that the GAO has recommended, and this hearing, the witnesses we had recommend, and we find there would be benefit, and then some fairness to everybody. It sounds like there's disparity in, again, these approaches. Is there any, also, when you have a reprisal investigation, is there any penalty against the accuser if the reprisal, the person going after them, they find it is false, or there's no merit to the claim?
Not if the allegation was made in good faith, if they had a good faith belief in the allegation.
Have there been any cases where you've gone back after these people?
I don't know the answer to that in recent times, whether we've gone after people, but we, I think it would have a pretty significant chilling effect if you start investigating the complainant.
Well, again, you don't want a chilling effect, but you don't want to use that. Mr. Duncan just read the case, and I read this, is it L-O-S-E-Y, the Brian Lucy, who was Lucy? Yeah, case, what he went through, and basically they ruined people's career, and then he got ganged by Congress on top of it, helping to ruin his reputation by some people. He was trying to do the right thing, as I understand, in his command. But you want to encourage whistleblowers, but again, there has to be some equity in the process for those who come as false accusers. I'm not sure how you craft that. Would you think that something like that would be beneficial?
I think the law, as it exists, is appropriate. That is, as long as someone makes a good faith belief, has a good faith belief that the allegations they brought forward are accurate and true. We should not hold them accountable if we then determine whether they weren't accurate. the subject did not reprise against them, because I think that would have an unbelievable chilling effect on other people.
Okay, and then we have Ms. Smithberger, and I saw in some of your testimony that your group pointed out that DOD's IG dismissal rate of 84.6% for whistleblower reprisal cases is more than double of that of inspector generals for the services for the same type of cases. Can you elaborate on that? That does seem like a very high rate. And what else have you found? What would you attribute that to? It does stand out. It's very.
Yeah, and we think that there needs to be more evaluation as to why that's occurring, but our concern is that it creates the appearance that DODIG is more likely to dismiss a case than to investigate a case.
And has your review found that to be the case, or is it?
We have. So specifically, and all of this data comes from DODIG semi-annual reports to Congress. We have found that service IGs dismissed during the past 4 years, they investigated 53% of the cases that they received. DODIG investigated 8.2%. The services substantiated 5.9%, and DODIG substantiated 1%. And these are all military whistleblowers.
And now I think we've got Mr. Fine. Looks a little bit anxious here to respond. So could we hear your response?
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. This is our data, and I think that's not an accurate read of that data, because within the data, that is counting as dismissal if we refer it to the service IG. That's not a dismissal. That is referring it. So the actual cases that we retain is a much different level. Having said that, I do think the data is important.
Well, could you get us?
Important to report.
You said that's not accurate.
We don't.
Could you give us to the committee for the record? Staff, we ask questions after this, but that would be something I'd like to see in the record.
Absolutely.
And also for the record, I'd like to see the number of cases, again, maybe historically the last few years that I asked the question about earlier, and then also the staffing rates. And finally, is there a budget constraint or something to pursue your work, or are you adequately funded?
We're not adequately funded. Thank you for that question. We'd be happy to provide the information that you requested, and we would be glad to do so.
Finally, since my time has expired, you could put in the response, the substantiation of the need for additional resources.
Okay. All right, fine. I'll put that in.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to yield back.
Gentleman yields back.